Omae wa mo shinderu, and welcome to episode 297 of RPG Fans Retro Encounter, where we will be discussing a bunch of Deadly Samurai with Hakuoki, Memories of the Shinsengumi. I'm Hilary Andreff. I'm hosting today for our Ladies Otome podcast, and with me I have Audra Bowling.
Hello.
And Niki Fakhoori.
Hello.
And Lucy Gray.
You saved me for last.
I did, and I was not disappointed. Alright, so this is kind of a fun, breezy summer opportunity to play a game and dish about it. So let's just go around and maybe give a little bit of background, like say why we're here, what drew us to this episode, and a little bit more about your background with Otome games, and we'll go from there. So anyone want to go first in particular?
Sure.
Awesome.
So, this game has white-haired anime boys. That's really good. But this game came out, I think, in 2012 in English, and I went and got it on the PSP. It was the first Otome game I ever got, and I loved it. And it started my deep, dark descent into this genre of games, and it's great. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's lovely to have you.
Actually, experience is very similar to Niki. It was one of the first Otome games I ever played. Ended up enjoying it for the most part, so now I actually seek out Otome games. It's become a deep, dark obsession.
And you are an extremely prolific visual novel reviewer on our site, so thank you for that as well. We'll be kind of relying on your expertise a little bit.
Aw, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so that's half of us who have been into the genre for a little while. For my part, I have not played an Otome game. So this is an entertaining first opportunity for me to try one out. So that is exactly what I did, and I had a lot of fun. We'll get more into that. But I think, Lucy, it's a similar story for you, right?
Well, in some ways, yes. This is the first full-length Otome game that I've played. I've done Hakuoki Pigeon Boyfriend, and a variety of parodies of Otome games. Though I fully admit that I'm a very big manga and manhwa reader, and one of the big popular genres right now is falling into a Otome game through an isekai situation. And so I've ended up finding out all these things about Otome games and becoming rather knowledgeable through indirect means. It's a really big genre right now in both Japan and in South Korea. So half the webtoons that are coming out right now are all I'm a villainess in an Otome game, oh no! Or I fell into an Otome game and I hate all the boys, oh no! And it's basically various excuses to show really hot boys. And I have to admit, it's a good way of spending my summer.
What is wrong with all these really pretty men having cherry blossoms floating in front of them? What? I'm not sure. I don't understand. What am I doing to make them happy?
I have to say that was just to jump right into this game. I have to say that was the most shocking thing when I was first booting up the game and I got through the prologue, and then suddenly I make a choice, and then suddenly there are cherry blossoms going everywhere.
No, literal cherry blossoms.
What? Wait, what? Huh? What just happened?
Oh gosh, yeah. I usually go to the settings first to change text speeds, and then I saw the affection animation on or off, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what the affection animation for this game is. Let's leave it on. And then I'm like, very nice.
Now I can keep track.
It's good to know.
Yeah, that's fair. Just to back up a little bit and talk more about otome games in general, it's a fairly common thing to have some sort of gauge or like way of telling who you've affected with your choices, right?
Yeah. There's usually either an animation or a sound effect, something to help you along.
Awesome. Can you think of any, I'm just curious, like any other memorable ones from other otome games?
The one I'm playing now, they just do a little bell chime, which I think is interesting, but then I'm like, what if you're hard of hearing or you muted it?
Yeah, it's true.
Pio Fiore Faded Memories has like a menu option where it'll just show like a cropped picture of the guy so it doesn't show their eyes. And then if you're like on the bad route, I think it shows like blood and like it's all black and white and like scary looking. And if you're on the good route, it's like colored and has flowers on it.
Oh dear.
It's really intense.
It sounds like it. And I mean, even Memories of the Shinsengumi veers a little bit into the supernatural and violent at times, although they don't really show much in the way of violence. So that's actually something good to point out about this genre is, it's not all cherry blossoms and rainbows. And
that's an interesting thing that I've from the manga side is that they talk about the for otome games is that, yes, originally it was all very sunshine and rainbows and cherry blossoms, but now there's sort of this growing trend of guillotine executions everywhere. And
oh yeah, like Collar Times Malice, where you have to find the terrorist group.
Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
And even this game, I mean, there were, it was fairly censored, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, we're just gonna have boys sucking on your blood on a regular intervals.
It's true. There's a little bit of like vampire stuff going on here.
Historically accurate.
Yes, very much. All right. So before we move on to like more about the game itself, is there anything else that we think the audience should know about otome games in general? Warnings,
Otome games are not just for girls.
All right. I approve. Yes.
Yeah, they are games for girls. They're made with the female gaze in mind, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Media for women is still good media that anyone can enjoy.
Yes.
And I think this game is actually a quite good example of that. I mean, yeah, we'll get into the writing and the specifics, but it was pretty engaging. It was fun.
There's a lot of sword drama there.
Yes. Just to bring us up to speed, I mean, this is basic stuff that everyone should know. But before we move on, just to recap very quickly, otome is kind of a subclass of visual novels, so it's basically an interactive story where you make a lot of choices. And there are different routes. I think that's something else that's important to know about visual novels and otome games in general. And usually you pick the character that you're interested in and kind of follow their route. But some games really get complex with it, and you have to do certain parts of one route before you can go to others, or there are bad routes and good routes, like in the game that I think Niki mentioned. You can tell if you're on a tragic, awful path or the good, happy path.
And they even have, I think, good and bad endings for this game.
Yes, they do. So multiple endings is another good, important, just kind of basic thing to know about otome games. We'll be going into that because I'm sure I know we got some different endings. We saw stories from some different characters, and I don't know about you all, but I did get a couple game overs.
Oh yeah, this game has those.
Yep.
And also, I would point out that this the thing to note about otome games is a lot of people put them on the other side of the coin of dating sims, but at the same time, more often than not, otome games often have more complex plot structures, and also you can have with those multiple routes, you don't necessarily need to do the romance route. There are quite a few games, including this one, where you can decide not to focus on one particular character, or if you're greedy, like I am, you try and look for the harem routes where you can get all the boys at your feet.
Gotta catch them all.
I was very upset when I found out.
That's right.
I was very upset when I learned that there was no harem route for Hakuoki.
I'm sorry, no samurai collecting today. Yeah, all of that is very, very important, I feel. And a lot of Otome games also have a really rich context, that even if there are romance routes, they kind of, they try to tell a good story, and they exist in an interesting and colorful setting a lot of the time, or try to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So now let's get into our gaming question.
Well, I wanted to play on the 3DS, and I misplaced my 3DS, so I had to get my PSP working, but then I found my 3DS, so I got to play the 3DS version of the game. And after you complete one route, there's a little photo booth mode, and I haven't used it yet. But if you ever want to take pictures with the cute guys, get the 3DS version of the game.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cute. You can pick little borders and be next to whichever character you want to be. Isn't that great?
And you can add little stickers and the like. And that's the important thing to note about this game. There are so many different versions of this game. It's nuts. There's the 3DS version. There's the DS version. There's the PSP version. There's the PlayStation 3 version. And all of them have slightly different plot lines and allow you to romance different characters in the game. So,
oh yeah, and there's 2 Vita games actually. They split it up and they split it halfway through the middle, the story.
There's even a fan disc game where they cast the entire characters as
high school, right?
Yes, high school schoolers and professors at a private boarding school. Because who doesn't think of feudal Japan and immediately go, a Western style boarding school?
Just for a little change of pace.
It's great seeing these adults in high school.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I only think there's maybe 1 or 2 characters that could even possibly fit into that age group. And even then, yeah, yep. So, all right, so there are lots of different versions of this game. I also played the 3DS version. How about...
I did as well.
Yeah, I played the PSP.
Awesome. All right, so we can compare and contrast a little bit later on. All right, so how about the plot of the game itself? Let's go into that a little bit. So we mentioned that it takes place in feudal Japan. But how about the character that we play as? Because that's always an interesting thing to talk about in Otome games. What do you all think? So we play Chizuru, who is a doctor's daughter. Her father has been away on business in Kyoto for longer than he should, so she has to pack up and head there to investigate and find him, hopefully. But Kyoto's dangerous. There are all sorts of Ronin, samurai, lots of fighting going on.
So she shows up cross-dressing. So
yes.
She originally meets all the characters dressed as a man, which most of the characters don't actually realize is the case unless you decide to reveal it to them. She is looking for her father or her father's friend, both who seem to be missing from Kyoto at the time.
Right. She got instructions from her father that there's a doctor colleague in Kyoto that she can meet up with, to help her should he not come back or should something happen. But she can't find him because he is away. So she ends up in Kyoto kind of trying to figure out what to do, and she witnesses a kind of terrifying battle with some really creepy, just frantic-looking white-haired guys, and some samurai men from the Shinsengumi who take her with them because she's seen too much. Let's see. Up till there, anything else we should add?
when we say it's feudal Japan, this is the 1850s in Japan. So you were seeing the introduction of some of the Western aspects. So most of the Japan is still working under the samurai code, though there are different aspects of Western culture starting to seep in, and that actually plays an important part in the story later on. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of upheaval going on in the Japanese government and the sort of consolidation of the emperor and the shogun, and that's part of the tension that is going on.
Right. The Shinsengumi are a group that represent the shogunate, and there's also imperialist groups, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of clashes among them, and then there are a few other groups in Kyoto.
Yeah, politics, cool writing, world building. Okay, but when are we getting to the anime boys?
All right.
They take you to the place, they take you to their little headquarters, and they, tie you up because like, oh, you're dangerous. What if you tell people what you saw? And you're like, I don't even know what I saw. I was paying attention to the cute guy over there. And then you have to choose if you want to try to run away or just sit still. And that'll, change which of the guys thinks, oh, you're pretty cool for making this choice that you did. And then you go there and then you talk to them all. And some of them are like, oh, my God, it was so obvious that you're a pretty little lady. And the other ones are like, what? I didn't know at all. But now that I see you, I guess it kind of makes sense. And then there's like that one guy, Shinpachi, who you can't date at all. I don't know why, because he's the one with the least clothes on, and it's like, I don't know why you can't date him, and he doesn't know anything that's going on.
You can actually date him in the Vita version.
Oh my gosh, that's the next one I'm gonna get. Let's go.
Well, and that's the thing, is that for the 3DS version, there's a group that you can date, and then for the PSP, you can date a couple, and then for the PS3 version, you can also date Sanan, who ends up being the antagonist on 2 of the routes, including the one I ended up on.
Yep.
That's right. They're trying to take the Megane away from us, but they can't hold him back forever.
And we should mention that this game is a very popular game, if you can't already tell by the number of versions of this game that were released. There was even a manga and anime adapted for this game. And they decided to go for both of those for what's considered the main route of this game, for the titular character, Hakuoki. Though he doesn't get that name until the very end of his route, apparently.
I think there are stage plays, too, for this.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, so I mean, when we picked this for our Otome month, we chose something quality.
That's right, it's quality, because then after that, you do some other stuff. What did we do? Oh yeah, then they go off and they fight. And then Sanan, the Megane that we talked about, he loses use of his left arm, and he's like, oh no, this is very bad.
That's my sword arm!
I'm starting to become kind of brooding, and it looks like I'm going to become evil. I wonder if that's going to foreshadow something. And you're like, I don't know if it's going to foreshadow something. But we'll find out as we keep playing. And then you make some more choices, and you meet the other guys. And, you build up your relationship with these other guys. They're like, we're going to pretend that you're like a page, because maybe like the generic faceless characters won't be able to tell you're a girl if you keep dressing in pants. And then, you go around and you're like, oh, let's talk to this guy or this guy. And then you develop enough relationship points, just like in real life, and then you can go on to the route of the individual guy. And you're like, wow, that was so cool.
Now, one other thing we should mention about...
That was a brilliant summary.
That was a really brilliant summary, Nikki. I have to applaud you for that. One other thing I think we should mention is that one of the common tropes of Otome games is you're working for CGs, or these sort of almost postcard-like images of your boy, usually in a sort of almost idealized lighting sense where he's doing something dramatic, and the objective is trying to get as many as you possibly can by picking all the right choices.
Yes, so like literally collecting, these really, really pretty images of Pretty samurai.
And you can go then back into the menu and see how many you've collected and which ones you're missing. And you are supposed to save so you can try multiple different ways so you can get as many of these CGs as you can.
Because some, if I'm not mistaken, like I've done 2 routes, and I should also pause for a second here and let everybody know that that part 1 of this recording, we have all completed at least 1 route. Part 2 is going to be us going back, getting more of these CGs, playing more routes, seeing more of the whole story. So even in the few, like I played 2, the 2 routes that I completed, some of the CGs are kind of hidden in paths toward bad endings, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there really is a lot of kind of planning and back and forth if you want to get all the CGs.
That's how they make you feel bad. You're like, oh, yes, I did it. I got the best ending. We held hands. Oh, my gosh, this is the best. But then you didn't get all of the trading cards. You caught the Pokemon, but you didn't get the trading cards. Now you have to go back and play the bad ending and cry.
And watch everybody. Yeah. Yep, it's true. So, and it is really interesting how things play out, because what happens over the course of Memories of the Shinsengumi is that there are multiple battles. There's a lot of political shifting going on, which influences everyone's movements. So there are some characters that you can follow from one location to another at various points, and then there's some you're not going to be able to see again. And it follows a very sad trajectory, kind of the shogunate kind of losing, and they get further and further away from the starting point in Kyoto, and they get more and more split up. And there's kind of in the narrative like this overwhelming sense of like, oh, these noble, samurai pretty men, this is all going to be a memory soon, or like, am I witnessing the last of the Shinsengumi? The player character says that a lot.
Well, and then depending on some of the routes that you get the sense that everybody else dies if once you choose your boy. At the very end, he talks about there's usually a scene where they're remembering all the boys that passed on. You're just like, oh, this sucks.
Yep.
Poor Kondo.
Wow, why can't I marry him? I'm just going to ask that question because he's a sweetheart. And also, he's kind of a big dude. That's pretty good. And he's a sweetheart.
He's the leader. I mean, come on.
I know, and I love him. And I'm going to cry every time I think about him.
I believe it's the anime. He's set up as, a flawed leader. And that that they question some of the choices that he makes. And it's like, no, this dude, this, why? This is a good dude. No touchy.
Yeah, because I mean, in reality, he's not perfect. Hijikata makes most of the big choices for the Shinsengumi. He's kind of like their figurehead, but like Kondo's not like inept. He's not like a dingus or anything.
No, and he serves well as the face, and depending on which route, he might actually like fight on your behalf, and it turns out he's one of the best.
Oh, yeah. I saw some of the scenes with him doing that. Mm-hmm. That was quite good.
So, all right. This seems like a good point to get into our cast of characters a little bit more. So we have Kondo. He's the leader and kind of the face of the Shinsengumi. And we have Hijikata, who makes a lot of the decisions. He kind of has most of the responsibility, we'd say. And he's, I think as Lucy mentioned when we were talking, he's kind of like the poster boy for the game. He's got the long dramatic hair and the violet eyes.
And he's actually the one the game is named after, because his, if you could do his route later on, he gains the name Hakuoki, depending on if you decide to let him become the dramatic bishy boy that he obviously has in his veins. But besides him, there's also Haisuke Tondo.
Heisuke.
Heisuke. Sorry.
He's the young one. He's kind of like the punk kid.
Yes. And I fully admit I picked his route for the first one because I was told it was the shortest. And I also kind of wanted to get him out of the way because he was the youngest looking. And as a 30-something woman with a 19-year-old that looks much younger, he felt the most sort of squicky for me to play his route. Also, he has a bit of a nasally voice, which, depending on your choices, might not be for you. Though he does get a dramatic glow up.
I was gonna say he wins for best glow up when they all change into Western clothes.
Yeah.
He cuts that stupid ponytail. He gets the proper bishy hair. And you get the sense that, he was a bishy all along. He just needed that,
that push
that push to get him. It's like those movies from the 90s. You just take off the glasses and put on a bit of lipstick and suddenly most glamorous person in the room. But
with the Superman taking off his glasses. Yeah.
Not that this kid actually wears glasses. But he's also the one where you get quite a bit of two of the other characters' routes. You get Soji Okita's route a bit through him.
There's a little bit of Okita, a little bit of Saito, which is the first route I did, too.
You did, yes.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, they are sort of grouped.
And it's really easy when you're starting one of their routes to easily decide to branch one way or the other, depending on just a few choices. Like, as Niki said, like right in the beginning, you can either try to escape or you can just sort of call out and go, I think there was a mistake here. And that immediately separates you into two categories of which boys you're going to be attracting.
I'll talk about Saito, because he's the route I chose. He's the serious one. He is the kind of stoic, left-handed Iaido boy.
He is one of, if not the most popular Otome character, even to this day.
Saito, really?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Everyone loves him.
He was actually my first route, too, and
yay!
When I played the game a while ago.
Awesome.
He was my second favorite when I played this game originally back in ye olden days.
Yeah, he has a pretty good arc. I enjoyed watching like the route he took, kind of, because he was a spy for a little while, and then he kind of had to figure out, like, as the Shinsengumi was splitting up, kind of what he needed to protect, kind of his purpose. So that was interesting to watch. I liked it.
He was a good sort of different side of the coin for Heisuke, because Heisuke leaves the group relatively early on to follow this absolute prissy boy idiot who comes in briefly and leaves him almost as soon as he shows up, and then promptly gets killed. And he joins that guy with no other intention. Saito joins him specifically to spy on him and figure out exactly how much he knows and when they can off him.
Pretty much. All right. We already mentioned Hijikata a little bit. He's the brains, the responsibility. And Sanan, he also is kind of the brains, gets injured early on, so his sword arm is useless, which is very, very upsetting if you're a samurai.
And he's the antagonist on Heisuke's route, because depending on which route you take, he's either trying to figure out this elixir of life that it turns out your character's father was developing, and depending on which route, he either wholeheartedly believes it and gets immersed in his own genius and goes full on crazy Western style vampire, or he's researching it to try and get rid of the bad effects, and just generally is this very cool one-off character. He also does, for the PS3 version, he is one of the possible routes. But I think for all of the versions we had, he is not a capturable player.
It's a version exclusive Pokemon. But
Yes.
we can't trade. They shut down the 3DS. No, they didn't shut down the 3DS Wi-Fi yet. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, I would cry.
He's a central part of one of the early decision points in the game, because whether you decide to like investigate what's going on one night in the Shinsengumi compound, you might find him and you might try to stop him yourself from taking this elixir of life, which you find out, spoilers, kind of makes you a vampire.
And he is a vampire.
Well, it makes you a demon, and you find out that the Western style demons are basically vampires, and the Eastern style demons, again, spoiler alert, your character is actually one of the last remaining girl demons around.
In the Yukimura clan, yep.
Yes. And that what the elixir of life has been developed from these Western demons, and has been used on these samurai. Basically, they have the choice of either, if when they fuck up, they can either die, commit seppuku, or they can take the elixir of life and become these blood
Fury Core.
the Fury Cores, the blood versus
Yes.
vampires.
So the
Who have
Shinsengumi,
lost.
right? So the Shinsengumi. Sorry, you didn't know.
No.
They go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we hear about this Fury Core, and it's sort of this well-wrapped secret, and it turns out the whole reason they kept your character in chains the first night, because this is a well-guarded secret of the Shinsengumi of this Fury Core, because they are basically the Walking Dead.
Yeah, the idea is that you get super strength. It enhances your fighting ability a lot, but essentially you are shaving life. You are shaving time off your life, and
you get bloodlust.
You get awful bloodlust that, is increasingly difficult to control.
Yeah, if you're not a main character and you don't have plot armor, that's it. Bye. See ya. You just gonna go.
You're just gonna crave blood and then disintegrate eventually.
Turn to ash is how they describe it in the storyline.
That's only for the main characters, though. For the generics, they go and kill a random person on the street, and then one of the Shinsengumi has to cut them down to keep the secret. Nobody can see this.
That's true.
And the one other thing we should mention is that once you go into bloodlust, having taken this elixir, you gain white hair and blood red eyes, so you somehow become an albino, and it causes these dramatic sort of shifts, which then become really pretty CG cards that you can collect.
Yep.
There is, if you go into the menu and hit biographies, you can see they keep track of your, affection, but also corruption. Ooh, because since you're a demon, that means your blood is good for them. So when they go crazy, you can choose. Will you let them suffer and get more corrupted, or will you feed them your blood? Ooh.
Which leads to CGs.
It does,
yeah.
in many cases. Yes. In many of the routes, you will get to see your samurai probably take the elixir at some point, maybe.
I think the only one who doesn't is Sonata.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so just to round that out, the couple characters we haven't mentioned, there's Harada, who he's part of the younger group of Shinsengumi officers, and he seems to be the most level-headed of the three in that younger group. And he's a spear user. Yay!
And he has some cleavage. Woohoo! Yes!
He does have an interesting outfit.
He's almost the one with the least amount of clothing, but not quite.
Yeah, he's the second least dressed.
Yeah, that's one of the things we've got to mention here is that all of them have conveniently very open yukatas going on that are putting man boobs on full display. It's great. But you do sort of go, why are you wearing clothing at all? You just might as well take it off. Come on.
That's true, because in this game, there's a plot reason, right? Because if they are more exposed and in danger and likely to die, that means they're more likely to take the elixir and progress the plot. It's perfect. These game developers are just the geniuses. This is the galaxy brain level stuff.
And then you have Saito, who's like bundled up like a little ninja, and it's very cute.
That's we have to have the balance,
Yes.
And then you get Yamazaki in the Vita version. He's all ninja'd up too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's also, we haven't mentioned him yet, there is a Eastern demon.
Yes. Okay, so, right. Chizuru is... Yeah, so Chizuru ends up being the last one of her demon clan. And one of the only females, which is a problem. And so there is a demon from one of the other clans who is looking for her. Go ahead.
Chikage, who is basically her stalker, shows up with his two little cronies.
Also demons.
And depending on which route you take, can also introduce you to more demons. There's the Princess Sen, who shows up, who can either help or harm your cause. And Chikage, of course, is basically looking for you to make more demon babies.
Right, you are a pureblood female demon specimen to him, essentially.
And your babies will be very strong and very pure. And at least he's the most open about the reason he's going after your butt.
Listen, though, but here's the thing. Like, you can't say, okay, sure, listen, we gotta do it. Oh no, the handsome guy wanna have kids with me. What a tragedy. Oh, sorry, Shinsengumi, gotta go. No, you have to, jump through hoops to get his route, which is a crime. I guess they gotta make up for the, amazing character designs with their cleavage and everything by making his route super hard to get. So I don't know. But, all I'm saying is that, okay, maybe it's not very good. It's like, oh, that's kind of rude. I don't know you. We haven't held hands yet. You haven't taken me to dinner. But honestly, is it really that bad? I don't know. I think he's my favorite, but that's okay. So everybody's different. That's why there's 6 different guys. I'm just saying they could have made it a little easier to just say, okay, bye.
Right.
Kata-san. Sorry, it was nice meeting you guys. Bye. But, you can't do that. So
you don't need to protect me anymore. See ya. Yeah, well, I mean, what generally happens is no matter who your chosen member of the Shinsengumi is, sometimes Chikage will show up and your Shinsengumi will, try to defend you, which may or may not result in them having to take the elixir.
Well, not only that, but it also has Chikage basically dissing your boy being a fake demon. And
right, even once they've taken the elixir, right? You're a pathetic imitation.
I'm pureblood. No, sorry.
You're one of those vampires that sparkle, okay? That Twilight craze is over. Actually, it's not. It's resurging, but we're not going to pay attention to that, okay? We don't like the sparkly vampires. Did you even read Stoker? I don't think so.
Actually, now that I think about it, didn't this game basically come out at the height of the Twilight craze?
Yeah. A lot of people hypothesize that that's why Axis Games chose this game first to localize into English, because it aligned very well with that.
More vampires.
And it's true. It's just these hot guys, they become vampires and then their hair sparkles because it's white. And I don't care. I think it's great. Also, there's that other guy, and it's it's like the werewolves or the vampire, except this is vampire and I don't know, half vampire, whatever. I don't care about the specifics. It's fine.
Eastern versus Western is the...
That's right, because they're trying to keep the Western out of the country, and then Kazama is like, oh no, you're bringing the Western into the country, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know anything about politics, but I'm sure there's some deep messaging in there. I'm not going to look for it, though. I'm just going to look at the boys.
I think I'm going to do the same thing, because the more you sort of get your head wrapped around. And one of the other great things about Otome games is that with these different routes, you'll get introduced to different characters, and depending which routes you go down, you'll get more backstories. So the more you play the game, the more routes you clear, the more of your main characters. This tells you everything, how much of an impression she left on me. I can't even remember her name right now.
Chizuru?
Chizuru.
I always change it, so.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You can insert yourself into the game, should you feel like it, by changing your name.
Because on some of the routes, one of the random girls you meet in Kyoto, you find out is actually her brother.
Oh yeah, that was
the
Hida route.
It's a reversal, because they thought you were a boy, but you ended up being a girl, and then this one they thought, wow,
the brother. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right, and actually that brings me to one of the few other characters that we have not mentioned, and that is Okita, who is one of the main leaders, and you find out fairly early on, unfortunately, he has tuberculosis.
He was actually the route I played this time. I'd been holding off on him just because his personality was very prickly at first.
Yeah, that's true. He is also your, if you like to argue with your chosen samurai, he's the one for you.
This game really got something for everybody.
Yeah.
Wow, it's beautiful.
He is. They almost have like a Princess Bride thing going on, where he tells you he's going to kill you repeatedly, almost likely kill you in the morning. He doesn't.
He's tsundere. Come on, you gotta have one of those in every Otome game.
Yeah, it was pretty. His route's actually pretty good, though.
It is.
I like the brother, that they went into the brother more in it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, depending on whose route you pick, like, when I was doing Saito's route, I learned a little bit more about Chikage, and then when I did Saito's, I learned a little bit more about Karu, who ends up being Chizuru's brother, who is disguised as a girl, who is really vengeful.
He did not have a happy life.
No, he did not have a happy life. Definitely resentful towards Chizuru because of her relatively quiet life.
And all the pretty boys.
And also just really dislikes humans.
Well, because they're
so the
Demon Clab got destroyed by human encroachment.
Mm-hmm. Chizuru's Demon Clan. That is what happened. Why there are not really any of them left.
I believe it's the anime. They make it so that she's not actually the daughter of the doctor. She's he just took her for his experiments because she was a female demon, and abandoned her brother because he was male. And apparently this is one of those strange dimorphisms where there's a lot more males than females.
Yeah, because isn't that why the brother was so mistreated? Is because he was male.
Yes.
And
I was gonna say in Okita's route, they go into that a little bit. Like, they don't say that flat out, but he went somewhere else and was horribly mistreated. You do eventually find your father. I guess that's also kind of worth sharing. And
not on all the routes.
Not on all the routes.
On Haisuke's route, you do not ever see your father. You only briefly meet the father's friend when he comes to do checkups at the...
Matsumoto.
Yeah. Though he does result in a glorious CG of all the boys stripping naked, and you're just like, yeah!
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's like the whole, like, dad's friend's reason for existence is for the guys to take their clothes off. This is great. Another big brain play from the developers.
So, yeah, basically, of course, this colleague doctor who works in Kyoto was like, oh, the Shinsengumi, time for your yearly physicals. Your samurai gotta stay in good health. So, of course, you get a CG of them.
Oh, and more specifically, you're given the wrong direction, so you end up opening the doors and being like, oh dear, nosebleed. Yay! All these sexy, half-naked boys with no nipples.
Perfect, yes. Maybe that's what the doctor was checking on.
Why they don't have nipples.
Wait a minute.
Oh no, not this again.
It's a great, horrible case of nippleitis.
I'm afraid this means you're an Otome character. There's no cure.
You're gonna need to take that elixir of life stat.
Become a shiny hair vampire. It's the only way.
He also has to figure out the cherry blossoms.
Yes.
It's the middle of winter and there are cherry blossoms all around you. What is happening?
Why are these localized right around your face? This is not a symptom I've ever seen.
It's Sakura fever. That's one of the great things about Otome games. You do have to, every once in a while, just take your common sense, put it in a little box, leave it to the side, and just enjoy the bishiness. And then after a while, you can take that brain back out of the box and go, what the f*** did I just watch?
When you put your brain back, that's when you say, wow, these guys were on a whole other level when making this game. Amazing. I wish I one day can be as amazing and create such a wonderful masterpiece as the nippleless guys taking the elixir, nippler, or whatever it's called, and becoming vampires.
Right, I don't think
that's really good.
I don't think I could have thought of a more efficient way to just pack so much, bishiness and samurai and vampires into one game.
Exactly.
And getting them into Western clothing, and which requires all the boys with long hair to cut all their ponytails off, so you get both the long-haired version and the short-haired version, which is absolutely amazing. And you get cravats. Everybody's better with cravats.
Exactly. They were on the next level. They knew. They were like, listen, we gotta give the people what they want, and they want everything. So we're gonna give them everything. It's so good. Even Kazama gets Western clothes.
That's true. Why? Why him?
Because he has to, because you can marry him.
I
have to admit, that was the one thing. He shows up and he's in a black suit. You're just like, wait, I guess did you
just do this because everyone else was doing it? Did you just have to one up them? You're like, yeah, my suit's sharper than yours.
Your suits are just fake. Mine's a Giorgio Armani.
Right?
Yours just a fake imitation, just like your elixir. That's what he said, and I heard him.
Well,
they do lose the cleavage a lot, though.
That's true, but
you gotta take the good with the bad. It's a balancing act.
But that's why it's all there.
Yeah, exactly.
Then when you go back to do a different route, you can see it again at the beginning.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Increase the replayability.
Oh. Well, before recording, I was joking about making this an hour-long Budo / martial arts lecture based on my previous Naginata experience, but this is more fun.
Well, we can get the weapons in there too, Saito does the EI, the one cut, one swift death thing, which is really cool.
Yeah, and an interesting.
The other people just stab people. I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Well, to be fair, that is just the one thing that I felt was a little lacking. They put all their money in these CGs so that when it came to the actual fighting, all you got was the same animation over and over again. Black screen, white line,
sword line. But sometimes
flashes.
But sometimes you get two flashes, and that's how you know that they're fighting instead of someone just stabbing someone.
Mm-hmm.
The stabbing usually is followed by.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, actually. Can we just address that again? In a game that a lot of people might assume is just kind of romance cherry blossoms. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of stabbing.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of swords, and I don't mean the inappropriate kind. I mean, they literally have a bunch of swords on their person to kill other people with.
Well, they do mention the fact that sword fighting is a two-handed weapon, and to properly wield your sword, you need both hands, which is the whole reason Sanan has to become a fury, is because he's lost his left arm, even though it's not his main. He's not a lefty. He actually still has his right hand, but because he doesn't have both hands to wield his sword, That's one other thing that I just realized we have not talked about is that there is really good voice acting.
Yes.
For
the voice acting is
a visual novel game where a lot of visual novels, they won't bother to have all the lines voice acted. This one, almost all of the lines are extensively voice acted. And
and the casting choices are good, appropriate.
Yep. And you get a really sort of good immersion thanks to that, really nicely done voice acting. I will say that for the localized English version, they do keep the Japanese voices, which is nice if you want to be practicing your Japanese or just like the dulcet tones of your samurais to be historically accurate.
I mean,
right.
I think it lends an extra something, honestly, actually hearing the voices in Japanese. It kind of helps. It helps the immersion, like you said.
Yeah, this whole game is very historically accurate. I was there. But yeah, the Japanese voices are like an extra layer on that.
Wait, Niki, are you a Western vampire or an Eastern demon?
I'm from Antarctica. They call me a snowman demon.
Ah, nice. One thing I will say as someone who's like practiced modern day martial arts a little bit, I kind of appreciate some of the little touches they put in, like Sinan, like just how big of a deal it was that he couldn't fight. Like even when some of the other officers were saying, well, you can have these other roles, that's just, not good enough.
Yeah.
You have to be able to fight at full strength.
And I liked how they also showcased the modernization of the warfare with the guns and how that impacted things.
Yeah, so over the courses, as you're going around and, there are these different battles between the Shinsengumi and the other conflicting imperial forces and stuff like that. Some of the other forces get guns and other weapons. And that actually factors into the supernatural plot, too, because silver bullets affect our vampire boys. The Fury Core and the Fury Core, so.
But only the Elixir of Life guys. Apparently, the Eastern demons being so much more cooler and awesomer, they're not as affected by the sunlight or the silver bullets as those
predictable
Western boys. And it also be noted that one of Chikage's two toadies, one of them wields a gun, and the other one is bare-fisted.
Just proves how badass he is.
So, yeah, this guy his name is Amagiri, and he is just so done with everyone's crap. It's amazing. He is my favorite supporting character. He's just like, why are you doing this?
He doesn't even understand why he's there. He's just like, guys, no.
Yeah, I'm a demon. I'm on the demon side, but yeah, I'm here because I have to be. And actually, if things get too tragic with Chizuru, he killed me in one bad ending. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to make sure you don't suffer anymore, and he killed me.
Well, he didn't want you to suffer anymore.
Yep.
He's not going to let you drink that elixir and become like some Westerner? Ew.
Oh yeah, that, because in Akita's route she does, and then...
Actually, if you get far enough on Okita's route, your brother, after getting him to drink the elixir of life, he actually forces you to drink some, so you are essentially ruined goods, and your boy Chikage just up and leaves. He's like, well, you're not any use to me anymore, bye. Like halfway through.
We gotta get the cute samurai man. Oh,
I know.
First world problems.
And on Heisuke's route, Sanan gives it to the Eastern princess, Senhime, and she becomes ruined goods and randomly sprouts horns, which I think is hilarious.
I was gonna say, the thing with the horns and the thing with the like Western versus Eastern demons thing, now I'm not quite sure how accurate it is, but I know, in the West we do have these ideas of like vampires that don't like the sun, they don't like garlic and whatever, right? And the silver bullet stuff. But in Japan, they're actually called oni, and Oni have the horns.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if it's because Oni are not affected by sunlight and they don't have any sort of, silver bullet lore the way that Western vampires do, which is what makes them not affected by it.
So instead they get horns.
Yes.
And horny.
Aha. But I do like Kazama in that route, not just because I'm biased and he's my favorite, but because he still gets mad at Sanan for like forcing Sen to take the medicine. Like, I don't know. He just seems like, hey, listen, not cool.
Yeah, I like.
Also, I'm gonna make fun of
too.
your boyfriend Chizuru, but not cool what you did, Sanan. Don't do that. Which it's not cool because Sen is my friend, and if you try to be mean to her, I'm gonna scream at you. So,
and she's the one with the hot lady attendant who
yes,
the
Kimiki.
Kunoichi.
Yeah, Kimigiku, the ninja, kind of.
I'm sad that she was not a possible route.
Yeah, what's with that?
She was cool.
He's marrying Sen. That's why they're already married. Dang it.
She sacrifices herself to bring Sen out of her Western demon haze, and it's this really touching, heavily subtext moment, and you're just like, yeah, screw the boys. I want to get in on that end.
It's fine because they don't die in the end, so they can go and get married.
Yep.
Yay!
They can live happy.
Yes. I love Sen. I remember, Lucy, you were talking about how, like, one of the big isekai, like, popular tropes these days is, like, I was reincarnated as a bad lady in an otome game. And there are a few otome I've played with, like, some bad ladies, but I always think of the ones that, like, the women are, like, nice to you, and Sen is always one that comes up. I'm like, she's my friend. I like her.
I like the friendly ones, too.
There's actually a great manga, I'm trying to remember the name, where the main character reincarnates as the heroine, and she has no interest in any of the boys. She just wants to romance the villain, the villainess. So the entire series is her trying to get cozied up with the villainess, and I love it.
Let's go. Yes.
That's awesome.
I can appreciate that.
Is this the secret Queen Victoria route in Code Realize? Oh, snap. Someday I'll finish that game, but that won't be today. Today is Samurai Boys.
It's a pretty long game.
So actually, one other topic that I wanted to make sure we cover before we start to wrap up is for those of us who have played more of these games, like, how does this compare? Give us a little compare, contrast, and maybe good points, bad points compared to other Otome games.
To me, this is a classic, and it's still very well written, but something I've noticed, just compared to, like, the newer ones, is that it does seem a little simpler, which is not inherently bad, but I think just because the lore is based off of, like, real historical things, very historically accurate with the vampires and stuff, but the political stuff is actually accurate. And I feel like that makes the world building just kind of inherently a little simpler compared to, like, other ones. Like I just mentioned, Code Realize, I'm not even close to being done with a single route, but it's so insanely
text
complex.
Heavy. Yeah.
Piofiore is very complex. Like, a lot of them, and it's not bad that they're complex, but it's also not bad that Hakuoki's simpler. But I did notice a difference in that level of complexity going back to Hakuoki for this podcast.
I mean, one of the big things about this game is that no matter what your choices are, you're not going to magically make the shogunate not suddenly fall and drive out the Western influences from Japan.
Right. It's this whole frame of these historical events are happening. Things are going to go a certain direction. The Shinsengumi are going to split up.
And some of these more newer Otome games, you can get wildly different endings due to your routes. This one, because of its nature and the setting that it's chosen, you're not... certain aspects are always going to stay the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that in some ways, no matter which route you're taking, you know what certain events are going to pop up.
Yeah.
You can
That
be
also
ready
means
for
that
them.
it's a good entry point for people who want to get into the genre. You don't have nearly as much to worry about.
Yeah, I agree. And this was a good game for us to sort of use as for this podcast, I think, because of this nature that we can cover multiple routes. There are going to be overlaps, and we're still going to have, even if we're talking about different routes, we're still going to have some of the basic plot points stay the same.
We already are kind of discussing that and comparing, contrasting a little bit. We're sort of like, oh, Sen did this in my route, and this happened to her, and but she still showed up at the same point, and we all kind of got the same like introduction to her.
Oh, right, we're Shizuru Defensor.
Yeah. Though I will say in Heisuke's route, it's great when Chikage gets basically cock blocked at the end. He's just like, wait, neither of the female ladies are gonna be with me? Aw, man.
It's okay. He has his 2 boyfriends. He'll be fine. Just wait until I get the next route. Then we'll see what happens. You can be with your boyfriends for now. Sen gets her girlfriend. I get the short dude. Whatever. It's fine.
With the nasally voice.
It's okay. He cut his hair, and Chizuru says it's sexy, so it's canon. So it's fine.
One last thing I kind of started to bring up, but didn't, is I don't know. I kind of like the little hints of like the samurai code that they put in. And one, like I mentioned Sinan, but another one is poor Kondo. Like, it's really upsetting what happens to him, and being beheaded is pretty much the most awful thing ever. I mean, it's pretty awful anyway, but the idea is that you get no opportunity to maintain your honor. You know, he accepted defeat and he wanted to end his own life, but they wouldn't let him. So they kind of denied him that honorable death. And I think it's Hijikata in particular. And Okita, I think, too, are heavily, heavily upset and talk a bit about how he didn't deserve that for that exact reason.
Part of that is actually really explained because they grew up with
Yep.
him as their teacher, or at least their sensei. And the one other thing that we haven't really actually mentioned, not only is this based in a historical fact, all these Shinsengumi that you're getting to romance are based on actual historical figures. So no matter, they all had pretty tragic routes, no matter what you were going to do. And they all had, there have certain backgrounds that are based in history and based on actual historical figures from feudal Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you can't do anything about Kondo. That's what happened to him in real life, and it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of skirt around that with some of the romance options by doing the elixir, but they still have to, like, fake they're dead.
And we learned that the elixir of life cannot cure tuberculosis.
No, it cannot. So he's kind of stuck being sick.
Yeah, sorry, Okita. I'm going to admit, being fairly new to Otome games, I guess maybe I should have been expecting, some sort of tragic sick character, but I was not expecting tuberculosis, so.
He did have that in real life. That is historically accurate. I'm not memeing this time. But they do take some notable accurate elements from real life.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how they weave that together. And I'm sure it's even more interesting if you are in Japan and actually kind of rooted in that culture and know all of these figures and know a little bit more of the history.
I mean, this isn't exactly fake grand order when you're having female Da Vinci's show up.
Right.
So they do actually try and weave these characters in for real, at least a realistic start, though not so much when we get white-haired bishy boys just running around sucking our blood or licking our ears.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That really happened. I'm
like, yeah, let's see. Okay, so my first route was ear licking, and my second route was hand licking. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Heisuke, it's your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I look forward to that. Does anybody know if Saito is actually left-handed or if that's a historical fact about him? Because that was another interesting little, like, kind of glimmer of kind of dojo culture, is the fact that Saito's a left-handed Iaido student, which is not the way it's supposed to.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I would assume it would be accurate if they decided to put that in there.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that before next time, because I'm very curious, because that is definitely a thing. Like, I could see that happening where a lot of people that he trained with would say, like, no, you have to do it this way. But he didn't. He was strong enough, on that offside, in air quotes. And also gave you a sense of, like, the camaraderie between the Shinsengumi, right? Like, their socioeconomic status doesn't really match up with what it should be for a samurai, air quotes again. So they sort of banded together for that reason. So you kind of, like, get a little bit of this sense of, like, a band of misfits who are just really powerful together.
Can I actually interject here? He actually was left-handed.
We did it! Yeah! Woo! My historically accurate anime is great.
Except the other thing, the thing that is not accurate is him having hair.
Oh, we need to have, like, the anime flavor, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Hijikata's hair is accurate. Both in the Japanese style and the Western style. Look it up. This is everyone's homework. Look up Hijikata Toshizo. There are famous photographs of him. One where he's, in the kimono and he has the long hair, and then one in Western clothing and he cut his hair short. And he actually is, one, very handsome, and two, actually really accurate to the Hakuoki version.
Ooh.
So that's cool. Yeah, homework time. Yeah. Woo. Woo-hoo.
My other day job at RPG Fan, besides being the resident demon, so that's the other reason I had to be on this podcast, is I do social media, and I am when we post this link, I am going to just make a Twitter feed comparison of Bishi Boy version, actual
versus
version.
real life.
Yes.
Oh yes, let's do it.
Let's do it and reference it next time, because we still have a lot to cover. We still have to cover Hijikata's route. And we'll talk more about our demon boy too next time. Let's maybe try and focus on those two routes next time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Take me away, Kazuma. Let's go.
So I think we're getting to the point. Like, any final thoughts on the game so far?
There's a version on Switch in Japan, and that needs to be in English right now. That's my thought.
Good to know.
Give it to
I agree.
me. I need all of the Hakuokis.
Yes. I want to go play the Vita versions now. Get my Yamazaki route on.
Yes.
That sounds good.
I kind of want to play the PS3 version, because when I started this game out, I was texting Hilary and Guy, man, I wish I could play Sudden. At that point, I didn't have him as the antagonist and get slightly turned off. But come on, I need a glasses boy.
I know, right?
No, that's true. He is glasses boy in this game.
They make up for it in Code Realize there are two glasses boys.
I mean, this is standard.
Frankenstein is the best character.
I'm on his route now.
Oh, yay!
Yes, he's my favorite so far.
I mean, normally in Otome games, there's always a glasses guy route. And the fact that for the 3DS version, there is no glasses guy route for Hakuoki is very upsetting.
Yeah,
right.
they were, it's difficult because this was really pushing the boundaries of, like, guys with no clothes and the white-haired anime boys and all that stuff. So, they had to hold back. They were like, if we actually let them marry the Megane, that's too much power. And then all of the Eastern demons will come and get us. And we can't have that before we make the sequel.
Same with Shinpachi.
Not only that, but and there's no harem route. Come on. I'm still upset about that.
Again, too much power.
It's too strong. Although they did later make a series that is, like, set in the past, and it's like the demon clans before they all died out.
Ah, interesting.
So that's cool.
Okay, so other than knowing that there's that other game with the demon clans in the past, knowing that there's a Switch version that hasn't come here yet, kind of talking about wanting to try all these different other versions, and the fact that there's no harem route. Any other last thoughts? All right. Well,
The theme song is cool. That's it.
That's
Oh,
true.
I do like the theme song.
Yeah, there's like a really nice kind of anime sequence and theme song. Yeah, and you get a nice little like credit sequence too after you finish each route. All right. Well, I think if we're talking about the power of Glasses Boys and other games, I'm going to wrap it up for now with some housekeeping and tell everyone to look forward to episode 300 of Retro soon. Very, very exciting. Yay! And then,
what now?
yeah, we're almost at 300 episodes. And also part 2 of this one obviously will also be coming along. If you would like to get in touch with us, our email is retro@rpgfan.com. You can also comment on our forums, visit Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord. We've got Twitch streaming, so you can visit us there. We're not doing Otome games there. We're doing a Tales of Summer there. But, that's fun too.
Same thing. Otome, yeah.
I mean, lots of anime-style characters, at least.
I bet if we asked, Scott would try it.
Oh, I don't know if I want to test
I would
that.
pay to see that.
Oh, dear. We also have 2 other great podcasts. Random Encounter, which is news and kind of reviewing what people are playing. Rhythm Encounter, which is music. So give those a listen. And,
Which is back!
Woo!
Yes, and, any sort of we like feedback a lot, so please review us on iTunes, Google Play, whatever podcast listening avenue you use. That's really helpful for us. And now let's go around. What's the best way to get in touch with everyone? I'll start with me. I'm EP Fire on Discord. That's the best way to get in touch with me for RPG fan stuff. And I'll ask you first this time, Lucy.
So, I'm available on most of our social medias on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I'm also Jess Idris, JESIDRES, on the Twitters, the Tumblrs, the DeviantArts, the everythings. So you can message your own personal demon that way.
Great. And how about Niki?
I actually have a Twitter this time. Woohoo!
Yay!
Yay!
You
can find me at Otome Niki. OTOMENIKI. Not 2 Ks because that would mean diary.
Hey, relevant handle for this episode.
That's right. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna plot finding Kazuma.
Excellent. How about you, Audra?
Oh, well, I don't have a Twitter account or anything yet, so it's actually email audrab@rpgfan.com.
Awesome. All right, well, it has been a lot of fun chatting about this game with you all. So thanks for joining with me in this. And we will be back for part 2 where we'll be kind of getting to like the meat of the main plot of the game. So join us there. And thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.